In this video, I am going to take you through the process that I used to create this desk and a couple of big mistakes I made along the way so you can avoid them in your build. I'm using my CNC machine to flatten out the boards on one side because I don't have a joiner big enough.
We work with what we got, right?
Now I do the other side with the planer. The joiner didn't work that good, so after I tried with the joiner, I took it back over to my CNC machine, and this worked really well. Came nice and square. Made it all ready for the glue up. For this glue up, I'm using Titebond 2 dark wood glue. It dries a lot darker than it looks out of the bottle. These Rockwell clamps were amazing. I only used those 4 clamps to do that entire glue up. It worked really well. There were no splitting or anything from the glue up. The pieces that I'm doing now, they're going to be used for some small components for the desk drawer. Not all of them, I just figured I might as well flatten them out. Sanded the wood, now I'm taking some of the knots and cleaning out any cracks or anything like that. I'm going to fill it with some brown colored epoxy that I mixed up. This made the knots look a lot better. I'm using the rotor with a flush trim rotor bit from the reference squared up profile that I created with the CNC machine. What you're looking at now is actually the bottom side of the desk. Now I know you're asking, why would I put the logo on the bottom side of the desk, Mike? Well, let me explain. When I was teaching my son how to home the CNC machine, he bumped the X-axis and I didn't know it caused a problem until later on when I was cutting the purple part of the logo, which is in the middle. I tried to fix it by adjusting the cut path, thinking at the time it was a software glitch or something with the path file. After several attempts, I gave up, called the manufacturer of the machine to see if he had ever encountered a problem like this, and he knew exactly what the problem was right away. I fixed it, but this side was no longer an option for the logo, so I decided to use the other side. I go over what happened later so you can learn from my experience. I'm just showing him how to run a cut file. Now we're just cleaning out some of the burrs that were left over from the epoxy. This is a gray color that I didn't end up liking. So after it dried, I machined it back out and I tried a different gray that I did like, and I used that on the good logo on the opposite side. This is where I noticed the problem with the cut path and I kept trying to fix it, not knowing it was a mechanical issue. That alcohol I'm adding to the mix, I didn't end up using that in the real logo that I do on the other side. It didn't end up doing anything much. I don't recommend them actually. Here I'm just using the torch to get rid of any air bubbles that's trapped inside the epoxy. I like this color, but I went a different route on the other side. I'll show you the exact pigment I used as soon as I get to the other side of the desk build. nice color purple. It looks blue on the screen. It doesn't look as purple, but in actual life, it looks really purple. Here's another color that I'm trying out of that alcohol-based pigment, and it didn't work good, so I added a little extra of that sparkly gray. Worked really good. I liked it, and I'll be using that on the real logo on the other side. I'm using the CNC to get rid of most of the epoxy so that the sanding process goes faster. Oh, this is the spot that I was talking about where I made that flat spot. You see how it's not really curved? I didn't know why. It's the first time I ran into the problem, so I had to call the manufacturer, Don from D&B CNC, and he was a great help. He provides some of the best customer support I've ever experienced. As soon as I told him the issue, he knew what the problem was instantly and walked me through every step on how to fix it. The only thing I had to do to fix the problem was tighten a set screw. So I bought some Loctite, put it on the set screw, tightened it up, and I was good to go. That logo came clean. I used a 1/4 inch end mill and a 60-degree V-bit for the carving of this logo. So this is a nice deep rich black that I'm going for the stroke of the letters. I figured if that was flat and not sparkly, it would make the sparkly gray of the letters stand out a little more and have that nice contrast. Again, I'm heating it up just to get the bubbles out. Now after that cured, I get to trench out the areas where the purple is going to be, and then I pour the purple and then I do the gray. This is the purple for the circle part of the logo. I love this purple, it came out awesome. I'm mixing up some gold color epoxy for the hourglass. It looks like the boss gives his approval. At a certain point during the curing process of the epoxy, you can manipulate the design and flow pattern in it, and it'll retain that design. So you just have to time it right and not wait too long until it's really cured, because then you'll just ruin it. Here I'm trenching out some of the knot color so that I can put a brownish tone epoxy in and make the knots look less pronounced. Now it's time to mix up some of that brown epoxy and pour it in the knots and cracks. Here, I'm just using the tape on the edge as a barrier so the epoxy doesn't overflow and the tape will contain it in that crack area. Again, I'm using the CNC machine to remove the bulk of the epoxy to make the sanding process faster. Here, I noticed some chip out, so I have to go through with some epoxy and fill in those little holes and then sand it out again. So when I sand, I like to mark the surface with a pencil. That way I can keep track of my sanding paths and make sure I sand the surface evenly. Now it's time to flip the board back over and work on the bottom side again. So I'm finding the center point of the board so that I can create a rectangle around the old logo and pour it with black epoxy. I just figured this will look a lot better under the desk than to see a messed up logo. I use the same epoxy color that I used on the stroke of the lettering. There was a little patch in the middle that didn't cure properly, so I dug it out and am re-pouring black epoxy in there, sanding it, and it'll be fine. Now I'm cutting out the pieces for the draw support. This flame curly maple piece is going to be for the drawer. Now I'm drilling the holes out for the threaded inserts. I'm just clamping the drill guide down so I have a nice 90-degree hole. Here's a little close-up of how I mock the holes. Here I'm repeating the same thing that I did in the front. I'm adding some epoxy in the threaded insert holes just to make it stronger, and that way they'll be less likely to pull out. This board's going to be used for the face of the desk drawer as well as the supports for the desk drawer. This is a side support for the desk drawer. These are the measurements I'm going to use to create the dovetail profile on the bottom of the desk, and that's going to be where the drawer supports slide into. I manually entered the coordinate that I wanted it to go to for its final position. It was a little too loose, and that's the test piece, so I recut it, tested it again, and did it until it fit perfect. So I'm just cutting an overhang now in that piece that I just made, and that's going to go over the gap that's in the wood. That's there for expansion for when the wood expands and contracts seasonally. I want to have the ability to have the wood have some movement and not crack. My chisel was a little dull, so just to have a nice clean cut, I'm chopping it up. Now the wood's able to cover the gap and have a little space there for movement. So I'm using the painter's tape and the CA glue hack to glue the boards down temporarily and flatten them out, sand them, and get them prepped for the finish to be applied later. Here I'm cutting the pieces for the drawer unit down to size. This is where I'm cutting a dado to hold the bottom of the drawer. The piece that I'm sanding now is the bottom of the drawer. These are the other drawer components. They're made with the flame curly maple. This is definitely one of my favorite species of wood. The detail that you get out of this wood after you dye it is so unique to the species. I guess that's why it's so expensive. I paid $110 for this one piece of wood. This part that I'm running through the thickness planer is going to be what supports the computer. Here I'm marking out the supports that's going to be for the suspension support, and it'll later be attached with some threaded inserts. Now with the holes already tapped, I'm coating the surface with some epoxy, and this should help it with its strength. Now I'm just putting the threaded inserts into the holes. Right now the CNC machine's cutting a channel that the diffuser strip for the LED cob lighting is going to be placed in on the front and rear of the desk. This piece of wood is going to be used to rest my audio controller on. Here I'm just teaching my son how to zero out the Z height of the machine. Here I sanded from 120, 180, 220, and then 320. This piece of wood is going to be for the audio interface. This notch that's getting cut out is so that the piece of wood can go around the desk leg. I had a little bit of tear out, so I put it on my table saw and trimmed that little bit off. When I surfaced this piece of wood, I added location holes for the posts. Now I'm drilling out the holes for the 1/4 threaded rod to go through. Just like I did with all the other holes, I'm tapping it with a threaded insert, then I'm going to put some epoxy in to strengthen it up, and then put the threaded insert back in the hole. Now rounding out some corners on the piece of wood that holds the audio device. Here I'm just figuring out the wire length that I need to put in between the cob LED lighting strips to route properly through the underside of the desk. Here I'm just marking the color code of the wires. Here I'm adding some solder to the wire. I think it's called tinning the wire. This made such a mess. Definitely cover the entire surface that you don't want to get polish on, because it gets in all of the wood grain fiber and it's extremely tough to get it all cleaned out. I had to use a toothbrush and it took a while. Here I'm adding a radius to the left and right side of the front of the desk. Just wanted to give it a little bit of a unique look. Here I'm smoothing out the transition from the radius into the flat area just to give it a little bit less aggressive look. Now I'm doing more cleanup of that polish that I'm trying to still remove. It took a while. For the purple components in the desk, I'm finishing them just like they do for guitars with the burst flame effect. So they use wood dye. So you'll put, let's say, a black dye on first, sand it, and that absorbs into the grain of the wood and accents certain characteristics of it, especially in flamed curly maple. And that's how I'm going to get the effect that you'll see later on. I'm using this so it seals in the wood fibers and allows the next phase, which is the lacquer, to sit on top without, as it's curing, sinking into the wood fibers and forming more pitting and stuff like that. There's a video I watched on how to finish guitars and that I followed pretty much to do this process. I'll link it in the description so that you have a clear understanding of what I was doing and why I was doing it. I'm just notching out a little channel in the diffuser so that the wires can snake through. This marker matched the diffuser channel strip color perfect, so I used it to color where the exposed metal was. So for these purple components, I sanded with 600 grit, then I went to 1200, all wet sanding, and then I used some polish. That is the equivalent of a 1200 that as it breaks down later becomes around a 3000 grit. This gave me the exact finish I was looking for. So I decided to go with Rubio Monocoat for the finish application. It's easy to work with and it's not toxic and it smells good. So yeah, pretty good stuff. When using Rubio, you want to just make sure you wipe the surface down good and apply it evenly. When you're storing it, read the safety instructions and maybe watch some videos on it, because this stuff can become combustible and stop sporadically being on fire. If you leave a bunch of rags on top of each other in the garbage can, it's susceptible to catch fire. So be safe and do your due diligence, read the safety, and learn about this product before you use it. I'm just using a toothbrush with some mineral spirits to get rid of that polish. Some areas had a little bit of a polishy film in there that was tough to just wipe off, but this did the trick. For this desk project, I wanted to try the carbon method to add an extra layer of protection to the surface of the desk. And you start with spraying the nano prep, and that preps the surface. Then you follow that with 2 layers to 3 layers of a hard coat, and then you follow with 2 to 3 layers of a top coat, and then you're good to go. There is a certain application method that you have to follow to get the best results with this product. So go to the website and learn about it, and then you can get a better understanding of it there. This product did add a little extra pop to the color, so I was happy with the end result. I'm using screws to secure the piece to the desk drawer together because I don't think glue would bond the surfaces unless I sand it. Plus I have some stainless steel screw caps that will look cool and match the metal tubing I'm using to support the computer and the audio controller. I'm only putting the metal caps on the top screw. The bottom one is going to get covered with the draw slide. Now I'm pre-drilling some screw holes to secure the diffuser in place for the LED lighting. I'm using a center punch where I'm going to drill the hole so I don't get any drift in the bit. Now removing the tape backing as I apply the LED cop lighting. Just pressing it in the diffuser channel as I go along the track. This is just a wooden mixing stick I'm using to help press it in and secure it in place. Now I'm just tapping the threaded inserts to clean out the Rubia monocoat that might have got in there as I was applying the finish to the desk. Now these 1/4-20 threaded inserts are going to be cut down, so I'm just setting them in place so I can lock them, and now I cut them down to size with the angle grinder. Now I'm just cleaning up the burrs that are on the thread. I'm running them through a 1/4-20 tap just to clean up the ends and make sure they thread in properly. I don't want to cross thread the threaded insert as I put them in. So to accommodate some wood movement, I want to widen the holes that are in this leg base component that I'm going to attach to the desk. This should help eliminate the risk of the wood cracking due to being locked in a position and not having room for expansion. Now it's time to install the draw slides. So to cut the stainless steel tubing, I am using the rigid pipe cutter. Here I'm just deburring the edges with a file. Now to get rid of the marks that tool made, I'm using some sandpaper that's 600 grit, then I'm going to go to 1200, and also polish with that same compound I used on the desk surfaces. It says it's the equivalent to a 1200 grit, and as you use it, it breaks down to a 3000 grit finish. Now I'm just polishing up this little stainless steel bracket that's going to be used to hold the desk drawer support in place. I'm using some Rust-Oleum satin finish spray paint to touch up the bare metal. Now I'm putting the face of the drawer on, and I don't know why I decided to do it underneath the desk like this. I wouldn't do it like this in the future, but here I am doing it. Now I'm pushing the diffuser channel strip that's made out of plastic, and it kind of just snaps into that channel as you push it along. So it's going to cover up the light and make you not see the individual LEDs that's in the cob lighting strip so pronounced. This piece of wood is for some cable management that I attempted at the bottom of the desk, but I'll show you it later. It's pretty crazy. This is going to be another piece of wood I'm adding for the cable management right along the back side of that current piece that you just saw. So this is the disaster that's under my desk right now. You can see how I mounted the power bricks and I plugged all of my essential stuff in, and it's just a lot of wires. I think what I'm going to do is build a wire coffin, but that's in the future. I like to keep my keyboards inside the desk drawer, so I built some risers so they can be at an ergonomic height, while still being able to shut the drawer. If you could, leave a comment what you use for your cable management. Maybe it'll help me out. I'd appreciate it. Here's some shots of the desk before anything's put on it, any wires are hanging off of it or anything, so you can see what it looks like. Hey guys, I got a quick challenge for you. If you can hit the subscribe and like button, maybe we can get YouTube to send me
$5 million in cash.
People helping people is powerful stuff.
Thanks for checking out the video. I'll see you next time.